Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Parental Unit Podcast. On the show today, I have a web icon. Is it fair to call you an icon?
I'd like to believe so.
I personally believe so.
Definitely an icon in the lower school.
Okay,
that
that's
is for
fair.
sure. That is for sure.
And I think you've kind of made a name for yourself with your unabashed, I think is the word I'm looking for, passion for film and theater. So
Thank you.
No better person to discuss film and theater with than the Murphy Diddle. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
No problem.
We're talking film today. For anyone who doesn't know the legendary Murphy, he's a sophomore. He has been the assistant director of 2 past web theater productions, one of which I was a part of.
Both of which you were a part of.
What were
Andersonville and Picasso.
Absolutely. I don't know why I thought otherwise, but assistant director and an actor in 2 web productions, Gangster Number 2 and Drowsy Chaperone, and
I didn't put
the other one?
The other one was Mercutio in 8th grade for Drop Dead Juliet, and I would have said 3. I don't really count the lower school stuff. I would have said 3 if COVID didn't hit. I was going to be Bird, and my line was Serpent in Alice in Wonderland in 6th grade.
That was an iconic. I was going to be the egg.
That's right. Right.
I was going to be the egg in Alice in Wonderland. That was going to be an iconic show with
I really think so.
our friend Hallie Anna as
Cecily
Alice.
Green.
Oh man, she's
Yeah.
turning 18 now. Do you know?
Really? I follow her on Instagram. I haven't seen her in years.
She got into DePaul. She's doing big things. She's going to do film, TV. She's going to major in...
Because I've seen her when I go to the Tennessee Theater. I think she must have the same season pass
has
day
season
as
passes,
us.
yeah.
So do we. We go on Sundays. I always see her there. She sits near me.
That's awesome.
But I don't think I've ever said anything. I don't think she remembers me.
Yeah, DePaul has a good theater. I think she remembers you. They have a good theater program, and she was on the show actually discussing her homeschool
I saw
journey.
that. I did see that.
So
I've researched.
She is. Thank you so much for being an avid listener of the show. But she's doing good things in film. Maybe got to follow up with her.
Yeah.
So anyway, completely off the rails. But you're also the first man on the show.
Really?
You're representing the male population, so please do a good job. I know I have at least one very committed male listener, Colin. Shout out to Colin.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you so much. You keep the show going, honestly.
My mom would be proud.
And I want to get him on the show, but he did an amazing podcast feature with the Running Effect podcast. He literally just got Gatorade State Runner of the Year today.
Yeah.
Like
Wait,
he is
today?
Today. He found
Wow.
out today that he's the Gatorade State Runner of the Year. He's
Yeah,
just an icon.
He was. It's been insane because he started running 8th grade, and I remember him. And I was talking to my mom about this. He was like, he didn't want to run. He didn't even want to run.
Mm-hmm.
But
I completely believe it. I might want to talk. His podcast feature on the Running Effect podcast is very good. He doesn't think it's great, but I think he did a great job. His interviewing has improved because he's gotten interviewed so many times because he's been so successful this season and over the past few months.
Great.
So it's been fun to watch. But thank you, Colin, for listening. Anyway, gotta steer this train back on its tracks. Let's set some definitions because we're gonna talk film in so many different aspects, just you personally, Murphy, and then just in general.
okay.
So first, I Googled film DEF on Google, and the 3 definitions given are a thin, flexible strip of plastic or other material coated with a light-sensitive emulsion for exposure in a camera used to produce photographs or motion pictures. Mm-hmm. So the physical
film strips,
reel, which is where film comes from. The other 2 definitions, a motion picture, a movie, and movies considered as an art or an industry. So truly a very powerful word that defines a very broad and varied and diverse and deep art form.
Absolutely.
That has been developing over the past century.
More than that, I think mid-1800s.
Okay. You would know.
Yeah, mid-1800s, a lot of that stuff. And you can still watch that stuff very easily. I think HBO Max has a lot of old films 1901. I watched a horror movie from the 1800s on there.
That's
It's
so cool.
recolorized. It's really interesting
That's
that
awesome.
all that stuff is still relevant today.
I think that's a good segue into our first topic of discussion. Some of your favorites. What's your favorite streaming service? Do you have one?
Max, like
All the way?
wholeheartedly.
Okay, this
and
is awesome.
so when I first got Max, I was begging my dad for it in like 2020 because as much as I love film, but one thing I love almost as much as film is cartoons.
Okay.
And what better place for cartoons than the Cartoon Network? And I love Cartoon Network. I love its sister channel Adult Swim, probably even more. But HBO Max had all of the stuff, and I'm like, I want to watch it. They have all the new episodes of the shows I like. And then when I finally got it. When I started getting deeper into film, I realized that because of Warner Brothers, they own Turner Classic Movies, which is a channel that shows classic movies. They have a extensive library of some of the best films out there. And it's always getting updated. So, and I heard recently that now, after they have taken the rights from Paramount Plus, they are now going to be the home of all the A24 films. There were a few on there before, but now all the new premieres are going straight to Max. So, I think Priscilla, The Iron Claw, which was wonderful. All those new movies are going straight to Max right after they come out of theaters around that time. So that was that's probably my favorite. I lost it for a good bit of time when I switched. My family, we had cable for a while, and we just made the jump to YouTube TV. And I gotta say, I do recommend it. It's got streaming TV.
Yeah.
It's better than cable, but because of that, we got billed for Max through our cable, so we lost it for a while, and actually, 3 days ago, my dad finally got it back.
Awesome. Okay.
So,
Good.
yeah.
Good for Murphy. Murphy needs his HBO Max.
I do. I really do.
I feel like you're not whole without your HBO Max.
All I've had is Disney Plus and Netflix, and Disney Plus not really my forte.
Fair.
Unless I want to watch Muppets. Maybe for my cousin, but I have a disturbing amount of Bluey on my Disney Plus. I don't watch it, but my cousin does, and I'll put it on the TV for her all the time when she's over.
Okay. I usually actually do Netflix reviews. I might need to bring that back. I finally watched La La Land, and I might do an episode with Anna Graves. I literally just did an episode with Jazz with her, and then she was like, yeah, La La Land is good. And I was like, I watched it because she had been recommending it to me. It was all about jazz. It was just all about, it was just jazz. I was like,
Oh, if you think La La Land is all about jazz, you need to see Whiplash. Whiplash is all about jazz, made by the same guy, Damien Chazelle.
Oh, Damien Chazelle.
It is. Yeah. It's. Did you see Top Gun Maverick?
I didn't. I need to.
Okay. Well, do you know who Miles Teller is? Okay, he's the main guy in that. Andrew Neiman. That is a jazz movie. La La Land. While I haven't seen La La Land, I definitely say it's closer to more like old Hollywood Broadway. Whiplash is about a guy in a jazz band. It's all jazz.
It's all jazz.
So that is a good jazz movie.
Okay. Well, Whiplash will be added. Let me literally just add that to my list right now. Whip. Oh my gosh. If I could spell. Whiplash.
It's intense.
Whiplash.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Well, do you have a favorite movie?
Whew. That is a hard question. I can a singular one, maybe. But so if you're familiar with the app Letterboxd, which I use very commonly, you have a system where you can rank your top 4 movies, and honestly, I would say those 4 are my favorite movies, and they are in descending order: Eraserhead from 1977, directed by David Lynch.
Okay.
Hausu also from 1977, directed by Nobuhiko Obayashi. Climax from 2018, directed by Gaspar Noé. And Schizopolis from 1995, directed by Steven Soderbergh. And by no means are any of these movies very standard. I think these 4 share a similar trait with why I like them, because they deviate from what I would say a standard movie is.
Right.
For Eraserhead, it is 11 minutes, the first 11 minutes of the movie, no dialogue, completely silent. It is in black and white, and throughout the film, there is just this industrial droning that just stays the entire time. It builds when the tension rises. And it is a chilling movie, and it's very disturbing.
Okay.
That's another thing about these, except for maybe Schizopolis, is that these movies are definitely what I would call disturbing. It's David Lynch's directorial debut, which he is a great director. He's most known for Twin Peaks and Mulholland Drive, but this is absolutely my favorite film by him. And it follows a man. He finds out that his girlfriend has had his child, and it is deformed. It is gross. It is disgusting, and he has to live with that. And I won't give too much away about the ending, but it takes you for a ride. And what also takes you for a ride is Hausu. Now, Hausu, I actually watched House and Eraserhead within 3 days of each other. It's a very interesting double feature, but it's a good one. Hausu, I don't know how I describe this movie. It is a Japanese horror film that was initially conceived to kind of capitalize on the rise of films like Jaws.
Okay.
And they pretty much said, we need to make our own Japanese Jaws. And unfortunately, it didn't do great in the box office. So up until 2010, it never got a wide release. Nothing on VHS, nothing on DVD. Didn't even come out in America. It was stuck in Japan.
Wow.
But it involves seven teenage girls going to a house in the Japanese countryside. And where do I go from here? That's the hard part. It's because if you've seen the movie, which depending on who's listening, I did show it at a birthday party. So a good few people
You
have
showed a
seen.
Japanese horror film at a
Oh my
birthday
gosh,
party?
yes, it's the perfect movie to watch with your friends, especially if you've watched it by yourself first so you know what's coming. It's one of those movies that's so insane, you can't believe what you're watching. The practical effects, they don't look real, but they are really impressive for 1977. And the house is just like, it's like a storybook come to life. It's like
That's so...
an episode of Scooby-Doo cranked up to 10. Everybody's screaming. There's flashing colors. It's all that stuff. So it's a great party flick, and it's not that scary either. It's very funny.
Okay.
On
Funny, like... So bad it's funny?
I wouldn't
or
say so bad, so absurd. It's
okay,
funny.
cool. Yeah.
On the complete opposite side of the spectrum, Climax is a movie that I would not recommend to most people, but it is one of my favorites. It is a dance movie. It is about this group of, it's a French dance troupe, and they are rehearsing they're about to go on a world tour into the US and all over, and they're all trying to make it big.
Yeah.
And so it starts off with like a 7-minute long dance number. It's insane. And then so they party. And as it turns out, someone has spiked their punch with LSD. And so it kind of goes down south very quickly. Actually, not even very quickly. There's 2 ways I think of watching the movie. You can watch the first 45 minutes up until the opening credits, which, by the way, the opening credits are 45 minutes into the movie, where you just see a movie about people dancing and having fun. There's a little bit of tension, but it's not that much. And once you see the credits, you turn the movie off. Or you can keep watching and see one of the most visceral and like hard to watch movies I've ever seen in my life. But I came out like, it's incredible. And it's great music. If you like Daft Punk, if you like Aphex Twin,
Shut up.
they've got Daft Punk songs are in the soundtrack. But one of the members of Daft Punk, Thomas Bangalter, he just did the soundtrack, and he does all this. He does all this, all the Gaspar Noé movie soundtracks. It's very intense, very triggering.
I want this now. I want this now.
So and especially like if you have epilepsy, lots of flashing lights.
Okay.
But
So stroke-inducing.
Stroke-inducing will probably make you. I was like, there were scenes where I had to turn away, and I don't do that usually in a movie.
Yeah.
Like I had to it will make you flinch, but it really is. a masterclass in filmmaking. It's like it's all one shot. It looks like it's all one shot. But
Yeah.
and the interesting thing is there are only two what I would call real actors in the film, Sofia Boutella and I forget the other girl's name, but those are the two that I would consider actors. Every single other actor in the movie is a dancer. They are a professional dancer.
Right.
So it's a cast of all dancers, which is perfect for a movie about dance. So if you're willing to watch what I would consider maybe a frightening or jarring film, Climax is definitely your best bet. And Gaspar Noé's movies are also all like that. But I honestly would say that Climax is his least jarring and
Seriously.
yeah, unsettling. He's made some crazy stuff
Okay.
I've not seen. And Schizopolis is my now Steven Soderbergh is actually a pretty well-known director for his movies. He created Ocean's 11. He made
Iconic.
the Magic Mike movies.
Okay.
And you would have no idea by watching this film. So the story behind this film is after some successes and some failures with his first few films, Steven Soderbergh decided to go back to New Orleans and he shot a movie with his friends. He's the main character, and it's a very small cast. I would not say the movie has much of a story. It's not linear at all. It's very strange. It's got a great soundtrack that reminds me of Devo, Mark Mothersbaugh, and Pee Wee Herman. But it's like, once again, I don't know how to describe the movie. It's very hard. But it's about this guy. His name is Fletcher Munson. He's assigned to write a speech for this like this motivational speaker that everybody praises. And if you're familiar with J.R. Bob Dobbs, I'd say he's similar to that character. But so he's tasked to write the speech, and it's just kind of like a snippet into a man's life. And then he finds somebody who's a dentist, different name, not related to him, looks identical to him. And it's one of those movies where just stuff happens. It's hard to explain the story of Schizopolis. It's kind of just like a peek into an absurd world, but I really do recommend it if you like absurd movies.
Yeah.
And those are my four. Those are I would say if I had to pick one, it would be Eraserhead.
Okay.
I think that one has just altered my brain chemistry for my entire life, but all four of those have.
Yeah. Seems like it. Okay.
Yeah,
So you're going for Big Bang, I guess.
absolutely.
That's awesome. Do you see yourself going into film?
Absolutely. I don't think I'd see myself going into anything else except maybe plumbing. And that's genuine. Yeah, I've looked at, it's early as a sophomore, but I've looked at a lot of colleges. I've looked at Savannah College of Art and Design, New York University. Those are the two I've toured specifically. I'd say that NYU is my top pick and SCAD is my second pick. Although I've spent more time at SCAD, I did the summer seminar over this break.
Yeah.
I was able to direct a short film. And right now I'm in the process of applying for governor school, where hopefully I will be able to work on another short film. I think I get responses about it soon, maybe next week. So I'll be excited to hear about that. But I've applied and I've got everything turned in. But I definitely see myself working.
Best of luck on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Working
That's
in
awesome.
film in the future.
And are you really interested in the technical side of filmmaking? Because there are so many different things you could go in the entertainment industry.
Absolutely. I think there was a large portion of my time of life where I thought, I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to be the next Spider-Man. I'm the next Tom Holland, you know. And then I think the big part where I realized maybe there's more to movies than I think was COVID. After COVID, the last movie I ever saw was Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, which, it's not great. I think I enjoyed it, but I was like in sixth grade. I wasn't really looking at it too deep. But then once movies went away, I missed them. I didn't realize how much I needed to go back to the theater. So the first movie I ever see when I go back is Cruella, which I left the theater and I said, that was just okay. And I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. Like, well, I thought they weren't supposed to put bad movies in theaters. Why is this movie in here? And then I started to really think critically about films. I would watch more. I would see a lot more. Usually beforehand, I would just see what I was interested in. Like, I was big on Marvel. I was big on animated films. And then I just kind of slowly progressed. Like, well, I want to see everything. And like this year, I saw movies that I never thought I would see, like Wish. I watched Wish for my 2023 list. I thought I was not going to watch this movie, and I really just wanted to get a broad range of stuff. And I think thinking critically made me realize, well, I could do this better. What if they did this instead? And that made me start to discover a side of me that wanted to make films.
Yeah.
And I think what helped a lot is theater. In the production of Dress Chaperone, our stage manager, Anna Grace, I was really good friends with her. Her younger sister is like my best friend, Lucy. And I really bonded with Anna Grace well. And I asked her, hey, Anna Grace, do you have an ASM? And she's like, yeah, no, for the play, no, I don't think Olivia, who was our ASM at the time, is going to do it. So I'm like, do you want me to? And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. And then I realized, well, I don't know if stage managing is what I want to do,
Yeah.
but there's assistant director. So I met with Mr. McCrae, our director, and he's a big movie guy too. And so I talked to him like, I want to get into this stuff when I'm older. And I think a good way to start is with theater. And he's like, let's give it a shot. So I helped with Andersonville.
Yep.
And that was definitely a learning experience for me from watching under somebody's wing. Anna Grace was a senior, so she really knew what she was doing. She had everything down to a T. And by the time the next play started, I wasn't stage manager, but I feel like I kind of just took her place. And I don't know if I haven't decided if that was a good or a bad thing, because I think it brought stress that I wasn't really ready for. And I feel a little bit bad because part of me thinks I took someone's job. But also, I learned a lot, and I feel really confident in what I'm doing now. But that's the big thing is, I think, starting to think critically about movies and working in theater is what really inspired me to get that push to get into film.
Yeah. And ASM is assistant stage manager for anyone who isn't very familiar with all theater acronyms. But I feel like when you're given, personally as an actor in one of the shows you assistant stage manage, I feel like your desire and your effort was so visible that other people fed off of it.
Thank you.
And it's so much easier to put in. You're so much more drawn to put in effort yourself when other people around you are doing effort. And like, the phrase like you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Like when you're around people who work hard, it's so much easier to work. You find yourself working harder yourself.
Thank you so much. That
I will say
that helps me give some motivation.
Yeah.
For right
So
now.
no, and if you're a sophomore or a freshman, or if you're just like, I don't know, a new person, a new hire at a company, if you're putting in work, you can be putting in more work than some senior members, and maybe you haven't figured it out yet. And part of that was figuring it out. I took a bunch of hard classes sophomore year, basically overworked myself, but figured out where my pressure point.
I didn't know what I was doing in Andersonville.
Yeah.
I really just sat in whatever Anna Grace told me to do, I would do. Whatever Mr. McCrae told me to do, I would do. I made some mistakes, I didn't understand maybe what my job was, but after that, I came out like, I know what I'm doing now. I really can do this.
Yeah.
And so I just think a lot of it is learning. You're going to mess up. You're going to fail, and you're going to be on the ground. You're going to make mistakes. But that teaches you. So the next time you do it again. And everybody says you learn from your mistakes. Well, everybody says it because it's true. You really do.
Mm-hmm. and the hardest, like those putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. It's so much better to be like nerdy
Yeah.
and to be like wholeheartedly like yourself than like hold back for some social or fear,
Oh, absolutely.
and it's and that and the effort. It's more about the effort than about kind of the mistakes that you make along the way, because there are mistakes, and it's high school.
Yeah.
And Andersonville was the play to mess up. The audience of 150 people sitting. For anyone who doesn't go to Webb or has no idea what the Andersonville trial is, it's a historical drama.
Yes, it is the equivalent of a biopic to a play. It was a story. If you know really deep on your Civil War history, you'll know that the Andersonville internment camp was a Southern camp that took Northern prisoners and tortured them, and it was run by Confederate Captain Henry Wirtz, and he was charged for war crimes. He was the only person to ever be charged for war crimes out of the Civil War. And so they wrote a play about the trial because it's a very interesting story.
It is.
And so our director, Mr. McCrae, he had a really unique idea that I honestly think it's what sold the show for me. I think if we had done it any other way, I would have hated the show.
Really?
But in case, for when you're seeing a play, you're sitting in the audience. You're sitting in the house. But for this show, because he wanted it to give a real courtroom feel, you're sitting on the stage. So, for example, say I'm sitting right here, and Nicholas is playing the defendant in the play. He's right there. He was sitting next to me.
I am 3 feet away from Murphy.
While I didn't see the actual show on right there. I did see a couple rehearsals, and it was really, really interesting. And it was hard for the cast. It's a hard show to do with people on stage because you can't look at them. Like, for the most part, while I think the audience was implied to be there because maybe they were the jury, for the most part, you couldn't look at the audience. And that was hard when you have teachers and your friends there.
And your mom recording your entire 6-minute performance. And your friend,
we loved
Christian, sitting right next to you and staring. And
I don't know how you guys did it, but I was surely impressed. And we went through a lot. And honestly, we pulled through. We pulled through. Gave a way better performance than I had ever expected.
I'm proud of what we did there. It was tough.
Whether it be through a lot of people just not knowing their lines or just
we're not going to get into this. We're not going to get into this.
But also violent winds. Remember that?
Vaguely.
How could you not? The first show was canceled.
Due to violent winds.
And we had to have 2 shows on Sunday, and for the seating, because we had limited seating, we had to do booking, and so people that got booked that day, they didn't get to go, and so there was one show on Sunday where nobody was there. It was about 5 people in the audience, and then the second show on Sunday, we had to add extra seats.
Yes.
So it was crazy.
It was crazy. Violent winds. Let me tell you.
Those winds, I tell you.
I wish we didn't do book. Well, if we didn't do booking, then way too many people would show. But then again, people could sit maybe in the house. I don't know.
I feel like the show was obviously designed for you to sit on the stage because characters would turn their back. They wouldn't have to turn out a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you were sitting from the house, it would have been very weird. Yeah. But I think booking was obviously what we had to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah.
And what are the main differences between theater and film and movies?
So obviously the big one is that theater is live. Anything that can happen could happen. It's like Murphy's Law. Nope. I did not know. No pun intended.
There's, this law.
I was born with this law.
How many times have you referenced this law in your life?
Not many, honestly.
Seriously?
Not many.
I mean, it did just slip out of you out of nowhere.
I have gotten more references about the show Milo Murphy's Law than I have the actual law, which, if you're not aware, it was a show made by the guy who made Phineas and Ferb, starring Weird Al Yankovic as the main character, Milo Murphy.
I got that
more than like, oh, your name's like Murphy's Law. Or your name's like, oh, your name's like Milo Murphy's Law. I'm like, You're calling me Weird Al? Then yeah, my name is like Milo Murphy's Law. I love Weird Al. But I'm getting off topic. But I would say it's live, so anything that can happen can happen. Like, you don't have another take. You have rehearsals to make sure that stuff doesn't mess up. But stuff happens. And I don't think that I've ever been in a production where there has been all perfect shows. You know, something always happens, and that's to be expected. You can't get perfection, but I mean, what people do, it's pretty dang good. I think the biggest kind of difference I can think of with between theater and TV and movies is with this idea of that anything that can happen is in our production of Drowsy, the final show. It was very, very strange, you know. We had one of our actors, he had just right before over fall break, he had gotten a terrible injury on his arm. Like, he could barely move it. And because of that, he had to take painkillers because like he was hurting even because like the show was right after fall break. He was on painkillers and he had to take them. And that made him mess a cue up before my part, and I didn't know what to do. And my other gangster one, Will Carroll, he quickly, I was like, what do I say? And then Will quickly jumped to it. He saved it. And we just went off. We cut a little bit, but nobody noticed. And I just felt terrible because he felt terrible. The actor felt terrible. And I really wanted to tell, I was telling them, like, it's not your fault, man. Stuff like this happens, you know? And nobody's mad at you, and nobody noticed unless they saw the show. And like even my parents who saw the show 3 times, they're like, yeah, we noticed, but not when it happened. We noticed when you had said because it was like me going back and forth saying food puns. It wasn't essential to the story. But we say food puns at the end, like as a callback. My dad said, well, I didn't even realize until you guys said it at the end. I'm like, I don't think they said that. But it certainly wasn't the worst of that night. So in the not halftime, in halftime,
First and third quarter,
in the third quarter,
they're down. For
in intermission, one of the characters, the character's name was George. He left his tuxedo because he ends the show with a tuxedo. He left because we had 2 shows that day. Also, he left his tuxedo in the lobby where he was greeting guests, and he must have taken it off.
Right,
and he didn't get it set back, so we were freaking out. Where's your tuxedo? Where's your tuxedo? Our stage manager, Anna Grace, she is yelling she is freaking out. We're all freaking out. He left like I said, he left in the lobby.
Did
we
he
just had
know
no
at the
idea.
time?
No. As somebody went over there and found
no.
it. And so we finally got it to him right before the show started. And then he comes in, because if you're at Webb and you saw The Drowsy Chaperone, you'll know that the door, or I think even if you've just seen The Drowsy Chaperone anywhere else, the door where all the characters enter is the fridge. So our actor George, he was about to come on. He was going through the fridge, and the other guy, what's his name? It's not Jim. It's not Bob. Robert. That's because it is the guy's name who wrote the show is Bob, and he's married to the real life Janet Vandergraff.
Oh,
so The Drowsy Chaperone is one long fan fiction about his
wife.
His wife, yeah, him and his wife. Bob Martin. He made The Drowsy Chaperone. And his wife's name is Janet Vandergraff, and I think they got divorced. Yeah. Which is very funny. But
he wrote a fan fiction.
Robert, he's talking, so George is talking to Robert, and he's like saying something, and he's on. And so the actor playing Janet, she's just riffing. He has no idea he's on. I'm standing in the wings, I'm like, you're on, get on. And our stage manager, she's yelling over the telex. We can hear it on the assistant stage manager's mic who's sitting down there. We're all freaking out. And then finally, he goes on. And that is just the best example I can think of how in theater stuff can happen that if we could get another take of that. We would cut if he didn't come on in time when we tell him.
Of course.
You come on in time. But that's the big thing. I also think that if you've ever seen a musical adaptation of a movie, the best example I can give right now is, well, I haven't seen the musical itself, Mean Girls, the new Mean Girls. I saw that, and I thought it was all right, but clearly it's hard to adapt a musical into a movie. The only one I've ever seen to be able to successfully do it was Chicago, which won Best Picture in 2002. So it's just hard to translate that stuff. Musicals, especially stage musicals, they're meant for the stage. They don't usually
I
they
feel
will
that.
not usually be put as a movie, and if they will, there are lots of changes, and
You have to
they
cut,
usually
yeah.
they usually don't get the best of ratings. I'm not going to say they get terrible ratings because honestly, I think some of the most famous musicals are adaptations, but they recently they haven't seemed to land, especially with stuff like Dear Evan Hansen, which I heard was god awful.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Rough.
bad.
Okay. And what about was Mean Girls originally a play?
Mean Girls was originally a movie.
A movie.
Then they made Mean Girls a musical.
Oh, okay.
Then they made a movie of Mean Girls a musical.
Oh, okay.
With recast partially. Tina Fey's still in it, but they cast Renee Rapp, who was Regina on Broadway, as Regina. They cast Katie Heron as Angoli Rice, who, if you've seen the new Spider-Man movies, she's Betty Brant. She's like the news girl. And various other people. Moana, I can't pronounce her name for the life of me, and I'm not even going to attempt it. So I just call her Moana. She plays Janice, and she's actually she is my favorite part of the movie. But definitely, it's hard to do that stuff. But yeah, the Mean Girls movie, it's strange because they didn't advertise it as a musical, and they did the same with Wonka. And even
Wonka's
though
a musical?
Wonka's a musical.
I didn't know that.
I saw it, and honestly, I liked Wonka better than Mean Girls. Wonka wasn't perfect. It wasn't great, but it was a lot better than I thought it was.
Right.
I expected it to be terrible, but the songs were really catchy. Timothy Chalamet he's very entertaining as Wonka.
Nice.
The only part, actor, I love Keegan-Michael Key. He is hilarious in that movie.
Okay.
And the only scary
What else
part
is he in?
is have you heard the show Key and Peele?
Yeah.
He's Key.
Keegan-Michael P. is in Wonka.
Keegan-Michael Key.
Keegan-Michael Key.
And Jordan
From
Peele. From Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele make Key and Peele, yeah.
Key and Peele.
Yeah. Who Jordan Peele is a great film director, and he's one of my favorites.
He directed Get Out, right?
He directed Get Out, Us, and Nope, and that's the 3 he's done, but he has a 4th coming this year, I think, maybe?
24?
Yeah, maybe. I heard it might have been delayed.
Okay.
But that's
Anyway,
okay.
Good. Wonka, good.
Wonka good. I recommend it's a fun time.
Okay.
It's a fun time.
Well, when a movie is an extremely fun time, when a movie peaks in fun timiness or in cinematographic beauty or in beauty to the ears, it gets a nice little award. What award? What kind of awards? What kind of awards am I talking about?
I don't know, but it might share the same name of a grouch that lives in a trash can.
Potentially.
I think you're talking about the Oscars.
Oh, I am, Murphy.
I know a lot of big film buffs. They're not big fans of the Oscars.
Okay.
But I am a big fan of the Oscars. I've got Oscar fever.
Oscar fever.
Yes, I
Is
do.
this a term widely recognized within the theater community, or the film community, or have you just
Oscar fever?
Oscar fever?
Okay. So Oscar fever is not, I would not say it is a term directly related to the film community, but there is a web series called On Cinema at the Cinema with Tim Heidecker and Greg Turkington that over the snow break I started to watch. I've heard good things. Tim Heidecker is in a lot. He's a funny guy. He's a great comedian. He's in a lot of shows I watched, like Tim and Eric Awesome Show. And I think he was in Us too. But the show is kind of like it's about these 2 satirized versions of Tim and Greg, and they review the weekend's latest movies, and they do an Oscar special. And right now I'm on season 6. It's each episode's 10 minutes long, but the Oscar specials, they would air them alongside the Oscars.
Okay.
And so in the second Oscar special, which is I've watched 1 and 2, the first and second Oscar specials so far because I'm watching everything in chronological order because it's a very deep storyline. But on the second Oscar Fever, Tim opens it by singing the song Oscar Fever. And from what I've learned, he sings that every one. And they are currently up to 10 on cinema specials.
Okay.
So it's hilarious. It's very dry. It's comedy that they act very serious, like deadpan. It's really good deadpan humor.
Okay.
So I recommend that. But that's where I get that term from.
Oscar fever. Well, are you watching? How do you manifest your Oscar fever?
So I start before even nominations come out, and like I see the movies in the year. I see as many as I can, and I look for the ones that are getting the best reviews, that are all the big buzz. And I think, okay, well, what could this be nominated for?
Right.
And by the end of the year, I like to collect a list of my favorites. And like around that time, the Golden Globes happen. And while I don't really care for the Golden Globes, I think they're not really my forte. They're really good predictions for the Oscars.
Okay.
And
That's
so
fair.
I like to keep up with who wins a Golden Globe, because usually whoever wins a Golden Globe will, in most cases, end up winning an Oscar. Like it was the case last year for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
How did they sweep the Golden Globes?
Sweep Golden Globes, sweep Oscars.
Okay.
Like it won Best Picture. Michelle Yeoh won Best Actress. Ki Hoi Kwan won Best Supporting Actor. Jamie Lee Curtis won Best Supporting Actress and won Best Cinematography. Best I don't know if it won Best Editing, Best Original Screenplay, Best Director. It swept. Like it wiped the floor. It might have. I think it recently was stated that it had the most nominations of like big awards that a movie had ever gotten.
And what was your opinion on this movie?
Incredible. It deserved everything.
Everything it got.
I saw it in theaters in April with my dad. I went in expecting, like, I have no idea what this movie is about. No, it's like a multiverse movie. And that was the first time I really saw a movie that was, like, life-changing.
Wow.
And it was my favorite movie for a long time. I've seen different stuff now, so it's definitely changed, but it holds up. That and Triangle of Sadness were my two favorite films from 2022, which also was nominated for Best Picture, and I was rooting for that one as well.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But deserved.
Oh, absolutely.
The love
Oh, yes.
and the support.
It deserved everything it got.
Okay. And do you see any problems with the Academy? Do you have any gripes with the Academy?
I will say, recently, I am a little upset that Margot Robbie was not nominated for Best Actress. And while I didn't think she was going to win, it's still annoying that she was snubbed. And absolutely for Greta Gerwig, who directed Barbie, which, like, she did such a good job on that movie. I also, I can't really think of the gripes I have with the Academy, like, in nominations and, like, snubbing. But one gripe I have is a lot with the In Memoriam, especially last year. So going back to Triangle of Sadness, it premiered in May at Cannes in 2022, and its star, unfortunately, passed away in August of 2022. She was very young. I can't remember her name, but if you see Triangle of Sadness, she's the actress. She's the lead actress.
Right.
And she passed away. And so I'm watching the Oscars. In Memoriam, she is not mentioned anywhere. She, like, if you look up, you go on the Oscars website, and they have everyone that died that year. They have, like, a list, but they don't show everyone. She wasn't even there. And the movie was nominated for Best Picture and Best Original Screenplay. And there was no mention of her. And I just thought that was absurd. Like,
How can you flub that hard?
The lead in one of the nominated movies, just who passed away, she's not remembered. I just think it's strange. But that's the biggest gripe I can think of with the Oscars. I know not every movie's going to win. Last year, I think I got very lucky. I don't expect my pick for Best Picture is Poor Things.
Yeah.
But I think Oppenheimer will probably take it, which I'll be content with. It's definitely a good movie. But I think, like, the biggest snub I was upset at for a while was in 2014 when Whiplash did not win Best Picture.
Okay.
But then I watched the movie that did win Best Picture, and I'm like, it's called Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, which is about Michael Keaton playing this 80s superhero, not Batman, but Birdman. And it's just, it is incredible. Like, I understand completely why it beat Whiplash, but that's, like, the biggest snub I can think of where I was really upset.
Yeah. Do you know how the Academy chooses?
Yes, I do. So the Academy consists of film critics, filmmakers, actors, editors, many people. And so they get copies of the film, they screen them in their own homes, and they vote for them. Okay. So a lot of, like, the people who go to the Oscars and, like the big actors, they vote in the Oscars. That's who is the Academy. The Academy is not some big board. It's filmmakers and actors and people who I definitely think know what they're talking about.
I see.
For the most part.
That makes sense. Yeah. I don't think, since you said your kind of love of film really started after 2020 and the pandemic, do you know of like the 2017 drama?
Of course. I mean,
It's
how
iconic.
could you not?
I-
I remember they parodied that on the Kids' Choice Awards that year, and I thought,
Wow.
oh, that's so funny. But
Wow.
yeah, I don't know because I've heard great things about La La Land and I've heard great things about Moonlight, and I haven't seen either, and they're on my watch list. But I've got to watch both to see. I love Emma Stone, who she is my pick for Best Actress this year.
And because she's in Poor Things?
She is Bella Baxter in
Dude,
Poor
I have
Things.
to watch Poor Things.
It is so good. It's very
She
raunchy.
devoured in La La Land.
Yeah, and she devours in Poor Things.
Okay.
She also devours in The Curse, starring Nathan Fielder,
Okay.
who I point at you because you
Yes,
look like
I look
him.
like Nathan Fielder.
But but that show blew me away. It's like 10 episodes. It's a drama about a couple who Emma Stone and Nathan Fielder. They're making an HGTV show, and their producer Benny Safdie, who you'll know as Edward Teller from Oppenheimer. He's like their producer friend. He's a big jerk, and it really follows the three of them in the town they live in, Espanola. And when I say the ending is unexpected, the ending is unexpected. It's out of this world. Like, really.
Nice.
Like, literally out of this world. And if you've seen it, you know what I mean. But, yeah, Emma Stone, she is one of my favorite actresses.
Nice. I have to see, because it seems so far from her La La Land project.
Oh,
but
it's so far, but it's so good. It's really a unique performance.
It's great that she's so versatile. I'll have to check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, thinking about cinema, a lot of the different genres, like action movies or dramas or comedies, they have they have a kind of set outline they follow.
Mm-hmm.
And for, like you said, since like the 1850s, cinema has always been evolving and been changing and innovating, and that the Oscars are always interesting and filled with very new and creative movies. And will there be an end to film, or will there be ideas that are just copies of previous movies, or will we keep for another century or two seeing new and innovative projects?
I think yes to both. Everything is inspired by something. You're never going to have a new idea, like not like a new idea, but like a completely original film, because I mean there's so much in that world that inspires you and you don't even realize it. But I think still like new ideas, new plot lines, stuff we've never seen before, like original new content is what I mean by that. We'll be seeing that for years and years to come, and maybe there'll be a time where it'll diminish out. It always happens where you get just an onslaught of remakes and reboots and requels and prequels and sequels. It's just so much. But like 2016 through 2019, we got so many sequels, requels. That's when I feel like the first requel kind of came up, which if you don't know what that term means, imagine a movie that is a sequel to an old movie, but it is a direct sequel and they skip all. So for example is Halloween from 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween 2018 is a requel because it is a sequel to Halloween from 1977. However, Halloween has had about 12 movies in between this, like probably even more than that. But multiple of them are sequels. But this one is like almost a remake and almost a sequel. That's what requel is.
Okay.
And then you have stuff like the 2016 Ghostbusters movie and the 2021 Ghostbusters Afterlife movie, which I've seen the first in theaters. I was a big fan of that when it first came out, and it's not held up great. I really picture it as one long SNL skit because most of the cast is SNL alumni, and I guess if you had to have the guest host, it'd be Chris Hemsworth in that. Mm-hmm. But haven't seen Afterlife. I know it's getting a sequel soon, but It capitalizes on like the big Stranger Things nostalgia hit that
Yeah.
that doesn't really appeal to me. I tried like Stranger Things. I tried that. And it wasn't big. But I feel like there'll definitely be a period of time where we get into more remakes and more sequels and stuff, where it's like it's nonstop. Like we're never gonna get a new movie again, and then something's gonna come that just changes cinema.
Yeah.
It's like one of the greats. Like I would say that Everything Everywhere All at Once is one of those movies
Okay.
that really shakes up the landscape of cinema. A lot of the movies in the Library of Congress are especially ones,
Mm-hmm.
and as well as the Criterion collection, although that's a little bit larger of a collection.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think new ideas and old ideas, they're gonna keep on,
Yeah.
keep it on.
And audiences change too.
Oh, certainly. You've seen what Gen Alpha is these days. Like,
Yeah.
they're watching all this stuff. But at the same time, I watched crazy stuff when I was a kid. Like, I was always on YouTube watching Powerpuff Girl comic videos. If I was a kid now, I probably would be watching the stuff they were watching.
Yeah.
Like Skibidi Toilet and all that.
Ohio Riz.
Yeah.
But
Please never say that again.
I will not. I promise. And and but like A24, its popularity, I feel like it's hitting younger generations.
Yeah, and a part of that, as much as I love A24's films, I think a part of that comes with almost a little bit of a negative connotation. A24 has become the Disney for film buffs, I feel like. And they make great movies and they are a great
That's
studio.
such a hot take.
But I think that they're really oversaturated. Everybody, you'll see an A24 movie and you'll be like, this is going to be the best movie of all time. Like, they're not always great. A lot of them are, and they have a track record for being great, but it's not, you shouldn't define a movie's like quality because of its studio.
Oh no.
If you've never heard of a studio, they could make the best film you've ever seen. Or if you've heard a studio and you think this is going to be great, they always make great movies. They're not. And people seem to have finally accepted that with Disney. And I think...
Oh, with Disney. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, Disney has started flubbing recently.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw, like I said before, I saw Wish, and it wasn't even like painfully bad. Like, oh, this is so bad. Like, oh, this is so bad. It's just boring. I think Turning Red was good. I really enjoyed
I
Turning
did
Red.
like Turning Red.
Pixar, I think Pixar's doing all right.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I didn't see Lightyear. I didn't see
I didn't see Lightyear.
the other one that came out. Actually, no, I did see Elemental. It was okay. But that new movie, Elio, about the alien, it looks interesting enough. So
Okay.
I'll see that probably.
But A24, the Disney
The Disney for
of
film
adults.
buffs, I feel
for
like.
film buffs.
And that's a good thing and a bad thing, you know?
Okay.
They're getting popular, they're getting a lot more money, but at the same time, it's getting a little oversaturated.
Maybe the money is the problem. Who knows?
Could be.
Who knows?
Who knows?
A24. Yeah. Okay. Well, Murphy, this has been such a pleasant conversation.
This really has. Time has flown by.
Time has flown by. But I'm so glad to speak with someone who cares so much.
Thank you.
You know, because
I'm glad to speak with you.
I just want to bring that out of people, you know, because it's so easy.
Podcasts they're a great platform to do that. You can really get people by just listening to a conversation.
Yeah.
It's like eavesdropping, but
It's
socially
so
acceptable.
eavesdropping. It's socially
Yeah,
acceptable eavesdropping,
yeah.
and you're just like, you're in.
It's interesting to hear people talk about stuff, even if you're not into it. It's even more interesting
Yeah.
if you're not into that stuff.
Because I'd say I'm kind of into it, but you're into it.
I'm into it. Yeah.
So, well, I think that's all I have to say.
That's a
I think
wrap.
I'll end us off on a question, the controversial one. And so just take a deep breath, because this may define.
I think I might know what's coming.
Do you know what this is?
It's the question I talked myself through when you first sent me the prompts.
Barbie or Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer.
Okay.
But
Oh.
Barbie is incredible. I gave them both 4.5 stars, and they were like on my list of movies, like my ranking of the year, neck and neck. They didn't even move. Oppenheimer. I cried in both. Also, I cried in both.
Wow.
I cried in Barbie because it's sad, and I cried in Oppenheimer because it's beautiful. Oppenheimer is long, but it's really interesting, and I feel like it's a master class of film. And while I think I would prefer Poor Things because I just think that movie is incredible, and I just love it when absurd movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once win the Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
I think Oppenheimer, it's not a bad pick. It's definitely something I would be completely fine with winning. But especially when they drop the bomb, the Trinity scene blew me away.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But Barbie was one of the funniest movies I had seen that year. And I didn't expect that at all. I was laughing my butt off. And a lot of people, they've asked me, are you a Ken guy or are you a Barbie? I'm like, I'm Alan. Like, I'm Alan. I'm Michael Cera all the way.
I know so many Alan fans. I have so many Alan stands in my life.
Yes, because I love Michael Cera. Margot Robbie was great in that. Ken was awesome. And him and Margot Robbie were the highlights of that movie. And Michael Cera. And America Ferrera. And like everybody in that movie was a highlight.
And the costume design.
Yes, the production design was some of the best I have seen in movies ever. I wanted to go in. I want to go to Barbie Land.
I feel like men and women around the world want to go to Barbie Land.
It seems so beautiful. I would love to go to Barbie Land.
Mojo Dojo Casa House.
I would have both a Mojo Dojo Casa House and a Dream House
for like Monday, Tuesday. I don't know.
Yeah.
Changing.
Yeah, just like half the week is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is Mojo Dojo, and then Barbie Dream House Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday is the day to
switch. To move. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe like pray. I don't know. And I don't know what
you have an empty
God
house for a day.
Yeah, I don't know. But amazing movie, and I have so much respect for Ryan Gosling after La La Land too. Mm-hmm. So just so good actors and directors and theater nerds. Just
there's a lot of good.
There's
a lot of good in the world.
There is. Yeah. Wow.
And that's what I ended on.
What a nice note.
And a voice crack. I ended on a voice crack.
All right. Thank you so much, Murphy.
Thank you.
I'll catch you, I don't know, on stage, backstage, behind stage.
Probably before then.
In some credits of some Oscar-winning movie in 20 years.
Well, I was going to say maybe Monday at school.
Oh. Why Monday?
That too.
Yeah.
Well, you'll see me Monday before.
I'll see you at some point.
You always see me.
I always see you. Good night. I don't know.
That's a good ending. That's a good ending.
Night?
Yeah. Good night.
And good night.
And to all a good night.
Welcome to Dreamland. I'm your host, Carl. This sleep-inducing show was recorded on January 26th. The 2024 Oscars have happened. Happy belated birthday, Murphy. Please enjoy Will Carroll in the next episode of Parental Unit. Sweetest dreams. Goodbye now.